Hello, welcome back to Baking Bakers. I know it's been a little while. We've had a pretty busy spring, and I actually am dipping my toe into another market. I'm starting a little bit of a sewing business, and as of this filming, in 2 days I'm going to do my first in-person market at a farmer's market, and this is an example of one of the things that I make, and we'll see how it goes. So today, we are going to make one of my family's all-time favorite things, and that is Whoopie Pies. Now, Whoopie Pies are a sandwich cookie. The outsides are like a soft, cakey cookie, and then the inside is a white filling. Think of Little Debbie or Hostess Ho-Hos, something like that. So there are lots of recipes for this out there. I've had this recipe for 40 years. I've been using it. A lot of them are regionally different. Some of them use marshmallow cream in the filling, and some people call them gobs. I had never heard of this, but in some areas, Whoopie Pies are called gobs. So we're gonna get started. This is gonna make a lot of cookie dough. Excuse me. But remember, we need 2 outsides for each cookie. So we're gonna start with, move you down here so you can see, 3 cups of flour. Nope, that's not right, sorry. 6 cups of flour. And we're gonna add to that 1.5 cups of cocoa. 3 teaspoons of salt. 3 teaspoons of baking soda. And I'm going to give that a stir. Of course, it wouldn't be me if I didn't spill it all over. You can see how this recipe is well loved. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to bring my mixer over, and into the mixer I'm going to put 1.5 cups of shortening. This, like I said, is an old recipe. This does not use any butter, and I'm not sure what it would be like to substitute butter, but because my family loves it the way it is, I'm not changing it. I need my beater. To the 1.5 cups of Crisco, I'm going to add 3 cups of white sugar. I know, it's a lot. And I'm going to mix that up nice. Start it on low so it doesn't explode on me. Gradually turn it up a little. This dough does not need to be refrigerated before you bake it, so we're not going to do that. So in preparation, I am preheating my oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to turn this up a little bit more. pretty good. I'm gonna add in 3 eggs. I'm gonna try to do it one at a time. I have them all together. Mix a little bit in between. And the last one. Okay, now I'm going to add in 3 teaspoons of vanilla. Smells good. All right, I'm going to scrape my sides down a little bit just to make sure we got it all. Now we're going to add our dry ingredients alternately with liquid. So for the liquid, I have 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and I use the powdered buttermilk, the powder. You reconstitute it with water, and I mix it in hot water, and then I let it sit for a while, and it mixes up really well. And then I also have, so 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and I also have 1.5 cups of hot water. Don't ask me why it says to use hot water. I don't know, but it does, so that's what I do. And then, of course, our dry ingredients. This is gonna fill this mixer right up. So, let's start by putting in a little bit of our flour mixture. And of course, I'm really good about getting it all over. I'm gonna pour in some buttermilk. Like I said, this is going to be a very soft dough. These cookies are going to be cakey. Sometimes, if I'm using an older recipe, I will measure my flour differently than if I'm using a newer recipe. Because back in the old days, they didn't spoon and level like we do nowadays. And so unless you're going by weights, it's hard to figure it out. But for this recipe, it calls for sifted flour. And a long time ago, the flour needed to be sifted before it was used in baking. It really doesn't now. But because they said sifted, that says to me light and fluffy. So I did spoon and level instead of just scooping the flour. Okay, that's all of my flour, but I still have 1.5 cups of water to get in there. Just gonna take my time. right. I'm going to see if I can turn it up just a skosh. See how that batter is very much like a cake batter? That's what we want. This is a messy process. I never can make whoopie pies and not have my kitchen be a mess. It's just the way it is. And that's okay. I have cookie sheets lined with parchment paper. And I like to use big spoons for this. So more like a serving spoon. First I'm gonna just go around it and make sure we're good. It looks like just a ton of dough, and it is. It's just gonna take a bit. But these cookies, my family's favorite way to eat them is right out of the freezer. So we bake them, fill them, and then we individually wrap them and put them in the freezer, and they freeze super well, and you can just pull out as many as you need. So I'm gonna just try to make nice little cookie mounds. You can make them, oops, as big as you want to. The bigger you make them, the less you have. They will spread a little, but not a ton. So you can fit fairly a lot on a tray. I think I'm going to stop there. Put this one aside, get my next tray, because I have 2 ovens, so I can put 2 trays in at once. You want to do this when you have plenty of time. I've never tried to have the recipe. I imagine you probably could. But again, it's one of my family's favorites, and they freeze so well that you can just make the big batch once or twice a year and keep them in your freezer. To be honest with you, it's probably been maybe 3 years since I've actually made these, so my family's going to be pretty excited. All right, I'm going to put them in the oven, and I'm going to start at 6 minutes. So let's get them put in. Try not to dump them off the tray. Set my timer, and I'll be back. My timer's going off, so we'll check them. I think they need just a minute yet. And these also. They're almost there. And Meanwhile, while I was cooking those, I got 2 more trays ready to trade out. Also worked on doing my dishes. I like to keep my kitchen clean if I can. And I'm gonna need some of those bowls for the filling. So that's how I do it. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, it's been another minute. Ah yes, these look perfect. They don't. My finger, ooh, I pressed a little hard on that one. They, if you touch them just lightly, they spring back. So we're gonna let these cool, put the next batch in, and keep this process going. When my batter bowl is about empty, then we'll start making the filling for them. And by that time, the first ones that came out of the oven will be done. All right, I have my last of my dough on my tray. This will be the, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This will be the 4th trip to the oven. So I'm gonna get these in the oven, clean up my mixing bowl, and then we'll make the filling. Okay, our last of the Whoopie Pies are cooling behind me. I leave them on the tray for 3 or 4 minutes until the tray is cool enough for me to actually pick up without a pot holder, and then I transfer them off of that to cool completely. So let's go ahead and start our filling mixture. This is going to start off with, we're going to whip some egg whites. So I have 3 egg whites in this bowl, and I'm going to whip them to stiff peaks, and I'm just going to use my hand mixer. Start off kind of foamy, and then the more you whip them, the whiter they become and the stiffer they become. They look more like marshmallow cream. And I don't really have to turn this bowl because the beaters do it for me. Starting to be able to retain their shape a little bit. And pull it up. They're starting to get there, but not quite. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna stick with that. Maybe a minute more. Change my have my egg whites beaten stiff. And at this point, I have to give you a disclaimer. As I have said, this is an old recipe. And these egg whites are not heated, so they are raw egg whites. You probably wouldn't get away with publishing a recipe like this anymore, but like I said, this is an old recipe. I remember my family and our church even having ice cream socials and making homemade ice cream, and we always put eggs in it that were not cooked. They don't do that anymore. So use this if you're comfortable with it. If not, find an alternate method for your filling. But I'm using the raw egg whites beaten. So now I need my mixer bowl, which is sparkly clean. It just feels really good to keep things clean while you're working, so it's not such a big mess at the end. So we are going to put our egg whites in here. No, change that. We're gonna put, I have another 1.5 cups of Crisco. If you're keeping score, that's 3 full cups of Crisco in these cookies, which I do not in any form say are healthy. They are not healthy. But they are delicious. All right, 1.5 cups of Crisco. I'm gonna start that going. And to that, we're gonna add 6 cups of powdered sugar. So we used 6 cups of flour in the batter, and we're using 6 cups of powdered sugar in the filling. So I'm just gonna slowly add this. I use the back of my hand as a guide to get it in there so it doesn't go all over my counter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you do want to make sure your hands are clean. Always clean hands, clean utensils, clean countertop. I'm going to put about half of this in. And to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of vanilla. And I'm using a white vanilla for this, just to keep the frosting or the filling a lighter color. You don't have to use the white vanilla. Somewhere I have some milk. Huh. I have to find my milk. I knew I had it. It was on the other counter. So I have 6 tablespoons of just regular milk. I'm going to put about half of it in. And then I'm going to add some more of our powdered sugar. I'm going to go ahead and put it all in. I'm going to add the rest of the milk. Stir that up good. Now I'm going to scrape it down. And now I'm going to put in my egg whites. And we'll just stir this on low. to get that all mixed up. Okay, this is a fairly thin type of filling. It's not like a cake frosting. If you feel like it's too thin and you want to add a little more powdered sugar, you can do that, or a little less milk, you can do that. And sometimes I do. All right. This is what it looks like. That's going to be our filling. So I'm going to take you over to the table and we're going to fill these cookies. All right, we're over here at the table. These are all of our shells and our frosting. I call it frosting, it's a filling. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see, where do I want to put you? Okay, one more thing. You can just use a butter knife. This is a little spreader that I'm going to use. Now I'm just going to sit here, put this over here, and I just take one shell, fill it fairly generously right to the edge, and find another one that's about the same size and top it. And that's a whoopie pie. So then once we get these all filled, and when my kids were here, living here, it was a family affair. Somebody would be cutting the saran wrap and everybody else would be wrapping them. So you just take it and wrap it up, and then I just put them in a pan, put them in the freezer, and take them out as we want to eat them, and they are delicious. Really delicious. I hope you try this with your family. It seems a little daunting because it does make a lot of batter, but the end product is so worth it. And as I said, you can put them in your freezer and just take a few out when you need them. You can eat them frozen or you can leave them thaw out. Either way is fantastic. And the egg whites, I didn't tell you earlier, but you can buy pasteurized egg whites, so that would be an option. I think it comes in a little, like a little milk carton in the dairy section, so you could use that if you wanted to. But there are lots of recipes for fillings for these out there. This is how I was taught to make them. This is how I've made them for 40 years, and I'm not going to change because my family likes them. So until next time, happy baking.